Hey guys, Apprentice Alex here. Just driving off to do a quick Harbor Freight run, and thought I'd take the opportunity to chat a little and make my thoughts known on a thing coming up. So real quick, before I carry on here, a little bit of stuff going on in my world. I'm working hard getting stuff together for Blade Show. Done a little short teasing it, but I'm revisiting the sword that I made on Forge and Fire. It's not exactly to the show spec, but I'm really happy with the way it's coming along. Hopefully I'll have some that finished up by the end of today, honestly. It's getting very, very close. Anyway, what I wanted to, the other big thing that's on the horizon for me is my third strongman competition. I'm going to be competing at Clash the Krakens up in Trenton, Maine. It is a pirate-themed show. Yarr! So, yeah, definitely going to look forward to that. Expect, training videos, clips, and all that type of stuff. But in the meantime, I figured that since it's right around the corner, make my thoughts known on a little lesser-known strongman competition called the World's Strongest Man. And the World's Strongest Man it started the modern sport of strongman. It has been going since 1977. It's only missed 1 year, 1987, where they had a competition called Pure Strength in its place. And it is Pure Strength was a big, I think it was 12 events that they did, where they took the three most dominant strongmen of the 80s, Bill Kazmaier, Jeff Capes, and Jan Paul Sigmason, it's quite the show. It's worth checking out. It's you can find it on YouTube. Really great. Stand-in. As always with strongmen, there's a few controversies about it, but it's still worth a watch if you're interested in kind of the history of the modern strongman sport. Anyway, World's Strongest Man. There's been some big changes announced for this year. It is a stacked lineup. I'm driving right now, so I'm not going to look at the whole lineup, but they've got 25 guys, and normally Worlds does 30 athletes competing, and sometimes they drop it down to 25, but this year's 25, and it's 25 genuine contenders. These guys are there every now and then. They throw in these wild cards that maybe shouldn't be at this big kind of championship level competition. Sometimes it's because they want to all the people that qualify through traditional channels, they want to throw in a little bit of little diversity, so they'll grab they do ones where they grab a Chinese powerlifter and throw him in the deep end, and that's not the way you go about cultivating diversity in top level athletics. I could do a whole video about what I believe the proper way to do that is. But that's not the point of this video. The point is that it is a stacked lineup with genuinely a global lineup. You've got your Americans, your Brits, your Canadians, but you've also got athletes from Ghana. You've got a couple from South Africa. The Iceland. I don't think anyone's from Iceland this year because half Thor's not competing. Anyway, besides the point. That's besides the point. It's a really great lineup of tremendous athletes. But if you're not aware, the way World's Strongest Man has worked since I believe it's 1994 they introduced this. Yes, they introduced the heat stages. So when World's Strongest Man started out in 77, it started with, because strongman, as we know it, was not a sport, so they grabbed athletes from other sports, powerlifting, weightlifting, talking about the type of weightlifting they do in the Olympics, not just people who lift weights, the sport of weightlifting, American football, rugby, all of these other sports, and they gathered kind of 8 to 12 of them together, put them all together, and had them do a big range of events to crown the world's strongest man. Well, by the time 94 rolls around, there's enough guys that are in contention for that title that they introduced the heats, like a qualifying round. So they, the way it has worked historically is there will be 5 groups, and I'll tell you right now, the reason that they format it this way is not for the sake of the sport, it's for the sake of TV production. There's plenty of stuff that you can see people talking about the TV production, but anyway, so you've got your groups, evenly groups, 5 or 6 athletes per group, depending on if it's a 25 or 30 man lineup. And generally the way it's been is that there will be like 5 events in the group stages, and the top 2 from each group will go on to compete in the final. So 10 people in the final, usually. Again, sometimes it'll be a 12-man final, etc. But one of the big struggles that they've had is that you get these athletes that would be able to be so dominant in their groups that they wouldn't have to do a final event. So they've made all these, tried making all these tweaks over the years to try to make it, a more dramatic finish for TV. Before I go on, I should say that one of the big things about this is that when these athletes come into the finals, all the points are cleared, everyone starts back from 0. So it's really 2 competitions in one, is the way it's historically been done. And for a long time, fans of the sports and athletes themselves have found this to be not the best method. And from the TV production standpoint, you'd have people that would just kind of like coast the groups, where, they'd dominate the first 3 events and then just, not really do anything in the last 2 events. They did things like they made the last event worth double points at one point. For the past handful of years, they've had what's called the stone off, where positions 2 and 3 would pass an Atlas stone over a bar, and it makes for some great TV drama, but it's really frustrating when you see a guy who's, let's say that, person 2 is 5 points clear of position 3, but they're not as good at lifting stones, so they lose out on the final even though they were way better overall in the group stages. That's happened to many great athletes that, failed to make the finals. So that's a little unfortunate. This year, they're changing things up. Now, what they're doing is they're making it so that there is no more head-to-head between position 2 and 3 in the group, where position 1 goes straight in. No, it's the top 2 in the group, and everyone has to do all 5 events. And how you perform in the heats is actually going to matter for the finals now, which I think is amazing. Genuinely, I think that this is phenomenal. I don't think it is the absolute perfect system, but I think it is the best balance between that, TV obligation and the best athletic, outlet for and find the best. So now, once the 10 finalists have been announced, they then go on to they'll rescore the groups essentially and rank the athletes 1 through 10, with number 1 getting 10 points and number 10 getting 1 point, etc. So that means that your heats performance in the final are going to matter for the first time ever in World's Strongest Man, that's a big deal. This really means that the athletes are going to have to take the heats seriously. Strategy is still going to be important because it is 4 days of competition, 10 events total. So you're still going to have to, be okay, do I want to go all out on this deadlift for reps, or do I want to, hold back a little, come, second or third overall, even though I know I could potentially vie for first, because that second or third will still get me enough points and not toast me as much as doing a true AMRAP. I think that's going to be really exciting to see. I think these are phenomenal changes. I know I'm late on this compared to a lot of other people. So many people have updated right away, but I'm busy with my smithing and my own training and all that stuff, and I just had this opportunity to chat to you all while I'm here in the car and give you a little update what's going on, both in my world, as I did earlier, and in the world of strongman, because I'm very excited for World's Strongest Man this year. The big sticking point with Worlds, of course, is that it's still not there's still no live stream. There's still no way to observe it live. This goes back to a 50-year-old TV contract that grants exclusive broadcast rights to certain TV networks, but there's no live broadcast agreement. It's blah, 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 blah. It's, from a fan perspective, it sucks, but it is what it is. The TV production of World's Strongest Man is it has done so much to, put eyes on the sport, but it also has, in some ways, kind of, shoots itself in the foot in the way it's presented, and the fact that, the competition takes place in the middle of summer, but the broadcasts don't come out until much later, because they edit it down into, a 5-episode TV miniseries, essentially. I have, there's some fans that have a lot of gripes with the way they do things, but having a little bit of experience with TV and competition / reality TV and all of that, I'll tell you right now that the thing that you don't want to do is put your ire towards the boots on the ground folks who are genuinely doing their best to make the most exciting TV show, and hopefully trying to treat the athletes the best. I can tell you, when I was on Fortune Fire, I was treated so well. That was a phenomenal experience, and I already had love and respect for the crews that were working behind the scenes on these productions, and even more so now, since I experienced it for myself. Just phenomenal. Such hard workers, and they do, so much with, to be honest, so little job security, even among other things. But yeah, it's something that I am a big fan of, in terms of throwing out some love for those, the behind the scenes folks. In case you've ever tracked me down, thanks, Maggie. Maggie was my PA on Fortune Fire. She was phenomenal. Just delightful human being. Everybody I worked with was great. From directors, producers, casting folks, there was nobody there that wasn't wasn't a joy to work with, and that includes the on-screen talent too. I've gone over that in another video. You can track that down on my channel if you really want to. If I get comments asking about it, I guess I'll pin it in the links, but that's besides the point. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about some of my predictions for World's Strongest Man. Now, the big elephant in the room is I would say the odds-in favorite to win, Mitchell Hooper. A cheating scandal with him broke. I don't want to go into crazy details on this. This is there are things where I feel like there are celebrities that have done things that do absolutely deserve them to be quote-unquote canceled. Cheating on your wife is a really shitty thing. Do I think that he should be barred from competition for it? No. Do I think it's justified, especially given his a lot of the messaging he puts out? If sponsors want to pull out from him, or potential collaborators don't want to work with him now, I also think that's justified. You reap what you sow. Consequence culture, folks. I'm a fan. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that subject. But what I will say is that there's a big question mark of how this whole scandal's being broken and his marriage is going to affect him going into the competition. Now, he's finished his heavy training before all this came out, but headspace is really important for competition. So, and one of Hooper's strengths has been his ability to always be cool under fire, always analyze, always have a clean head on his shoulders, and do exactly what he needs to do. I think the big question mark is, of course, going to be, how does this affect his headspace coming into Worlds? Now, I will say it's worth noting that Mitchell Hooper was the heavy favorite last year, and in the first event of the finals, he ripped the calluses right off his hands. And let me tell you something, if you see the kinds of calluses and scars in my palms between smithing and sword sports and strength sports, I'm all too familiar with that. It sucks, and grip is a huge part of strongman. So to have your grip compromised in that way, and even on, even like deadlifting with straps with a torn callus, there's still so much pressure being put right on that bleeding wound. His hands look nasty, let me tell you. That mistake in that first event, huge props to him to grit his teeth and go through the amount of pain that causes, and to finish second place is huge. But I think that the big question mark is going to be Hooper's headspace coming into this. He's not a person who gets a lot out of aggression. He's a more cerebral competitor. So, I think there's some guys, if a big scandal broke, they get so much, they pull so much of their strength in competition from that aggression. And Hooper's not one of those guys, so that puts a big question mark, and I think is going to make some of the predictions more difficult. Now, before I continue on with making predictions, I want to make a quick note that with predictions, it's really, really hard to make them for Worlds before we know who's in each group, because like I talked about earlier, the group stages. Only 2 from each group go. So if you end up in what people will refer to as the group of death, where you have 3 or 4 of the top guys in the the favorites to win the competition in the same group, well, only 2 of them are making it through to the finals, and that could take out things. This is one of the things about the groups and the heats and the narrowing it down to 10 finalists, is of course that if your best events are in the finals and you can't make it through the heats, that's tough, because you could beat all of these guys on the final events, but you can't get through the groups. Anyway, I think that obviously Hooper is somebody who has, in his entire professional strongman career, he's had 1 competition, his first World's Strongest Man, which was his first ever international competition, by the way. His first World's Strongest Man was the only competition he missed the podium. He has not lost a competition since World's Strongest Man 2024. So you can't overlook him, even if there's that question mark. Some others, obviously Tom Stoltman is a 3 times World's Strongest Man champion. He turns up to win at World's Strongest Man, and he's struggled at some of the other shows. He's done well at some of the other shows, but he hasn't taken any of the other big titles. But he comes to win at Worlds, and if Tom shows up in Tom World's Strongest Man shape, then he's going to be a threat to that title. Evan Singleton is somebody that I don't think is getting talked about much. He was 3rd place last year. He had a really strong overall showing. Evan's can be a bit of a hit or miss athlete. I'm actually a big fan of Evan, but Evan can be can be hit or miss. When he is on, he is on, and at least on paper, he's a very well-rounded athlete. He's not breaking world records in any specific event, but he's competitive in almost every event. Looking at his training, he's looking really solid. I think that he absolutely should be in that competition. But I also think a big thing with Evan is going to be how things kick off at the beginning, because Evan's very much somebody that, like, he's a momentum athlete. It can be really hard for him to recapture his momentum if he has a bad performance early on. So if he gets through the first day at the top of his group, then I think he'll be a genuine threat for the title. We can't overlook Lucas Hatton. I think is a genuine contender here. He has been phenomenally consistent. He, I think, has the potential to be the greatest overhead presser that we've ever seen. His training on the behind the neck jerk looks phenomenal. I think that the question marks for him is where he can place on the 18-inch deadlift. I've seen he doesn't go to max effort in his training ever. That's something that he's very big on, is that, you build up and you make the max effort at the shows. His deadlift has been improving. That's been a big weakness for him. I think the other one is going to be his grip, notoriously arm over arm, which is a part of the final, has been a weakness for him. Also, he's never done a Hercules hold before, so we don't have any information on that. So I think that Lucas could be a real contender for the podium or even the overall win, depending on how things shake up. I do want to say that I think Mateusz Kieliszkowski has a really good shot at making the finals, but the finals events don't look great for him. He could surprise us. He's done that in the past, but I think that Kieliszkowski is going to, finish it probably low mid-table in the finals. I think one person to really watch out for is Patty Haynes. He was phenomenal at Europe's Strongest Man. His overhead is a big weakness, but I think that him adapting a split jerk technique, split jerk. He could do enough to not drop too many points and could do really well for himself. Honestly, I think the athlete that I am most excited to see how he does is a relative unknown named Reno Nell from South Africa. Now, Reno the White Rhino Nell popped up. He won Africa's Strongest Man. He did 3 Strongman Champions League shows last year, won all 3 of them, and one of those, by the way, was the Strongman Champions League World Tour Finals. Now, Strongman Champions League is kind of its own thing. There's a lot of athletes that do it, but it's still a very competitive series. I have some thoughts about Strongman Champions League that I want to share at some point, but one of the things that I love about the SCL is that they have a true world tour. They really do go all over the world with their show, and I think that's phenomenal. I wish that they fed into a bigger, shall we call it, major title, instead of just kind of their championship is, it's another Strongman Champions League. I would love to see them, make a deal with one of the big 4 Strongman shows to, qualify for one of those. Especially because they get. I think they probably have the most diverse international lineup, both in terms of locations and athletes competing. With the Strongman Champions League, they are but with Reno, he showed up and dominated. And some of the guys that there are guys that compete in the Strongman Champions League that have done well at World's Strongest Man, that have been on the podium or won, Giants Live type shows and things. So it's certainly not like Reno. Like, Reno hasn't been up against who I would class as the best in the world yet, but it's not like he's beaten nobodies. I think that it's something I'm really excited to see how it shakes up. Liz Shaley, wife of Lawrence Big Laws Shaley, did an interview with him. He seems like a really sweet, humble guy. Again, really just curious to see how he does, because the way he just seemingly came out of nowhere. He was a rugby player before he got into strongman. An old strongman legend by the name of Gerrit Badenhorst is the one who pulled him into the world of strongman, and I'm really excited to see what he does at Worlds. Some other athletes I'm excited to see compete. Let's see, I already mentioned Patty Haynes is somebody to watch out for. I'm excited to see Evans Nana. He's just always such a joy to watch. The Ghanaian Hulk, he's great. I think, who else is there that I'm excited to see that I haven't talked about? Luke Richardson. I think Luke Richardson, he's been through so much hardship, much like Mateusz. I think that Mateusz will probably beat Luke through the heats, but I think that Luke has a better chance in the finals of doing something special. I hope he gets through the show injury-free. I hope he puts on a good performance. I'd love to see him up at that podium. He's put in so much. He's worked so hard, and they come back from just horrific injury. He is, seems like a great bloke, and wish him the best, and the future is now, as it were. His nickname is the Future, and there's been a lot of jokes about with him coming back, winning Europe's Strongest Man and all that they need to change his nickname from the Future to the Present. But anyway, yeah, I'm very excited to see how everything shakes up. I'll probably do a more formal, or I'll try to do a more formal predictions video once the groups get announced. That's because, again, there's, if you get multiple people in a group that are really vying for the title, that's when you really kind of have to break things down event by event. I think it's going to be a great show, and it's World's Strongest Man. Any strongman fan should be excited about it, even if you think that some of the other shows are better overall tests. This is the one that definitely has the most public clout to it. Anyway, I am just about to arrive at Ye Old Harbor Freight, where I got to pick some stuff up, and then hopefully I'll finish up this Folks and I can show you all, because oh boy, am I fucking thrilled with the way this thing is coming along. Anyway, I will see you all soon.